You're welcome. Now, you're joining us somewhere in Mississippi?
No, we're in the mountains of North Carolina.
Oh, now, okay. Now,
That's
you were
where
born in...
We had to move up here due to the climate. I can't sweat anymore.
Oh,
and
okay.
the climate up here is so much better for me.
You were born in Mississippi?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Jack was born in Mississippi, and I was born in Arkansas.
Ah, okay, great.
All right, so I have to ask the question: who roots for the Razorbacks and who roots for the Mississippi State Bulldogs or Ole Miss?
Well, she always goes for Arkansas, and I always have gone for the State Bulldogs.
And our daughter is for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
An equal that is an SEC family if I've ever heard of one.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. People talk about how big Oregon or some of them guys are and how good, and my daughter will say, well, they're not as big as Ole Miss.
Right. Well, Jack, tell us, if you will, Billy Jack, tell us, you went through a very tragic fire, and just tell us a little bit about what you were doing and where you were at the time of the accident.
Well, it was March the 3rd, 2006. It was a Friday night, and we were actually pulling pipe out of the hole. That's called tripping pipe.
Now, you were working on an oil derrick.
Yes, and I was working up high at the place called Derrick's. And that night, a piece that had been put in place for safety to do a job had not been being manufactured properly. And it gave way at half of the understood holding pressure. And when it did, it allowed gas to come through the hole. And, I didn't have anywhere to go. I was about 150 foot in the air. I watched it come get me. Mm. And I got to tell you, fire has been used throughout history as cleansing, changing. You use it to make things stronger. And it was beautiful. Most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And in just an instant, it turned from the most beautiful thing I had ever seen to the most painful thing I had ever experienced. And I never lost consciousness that night. We figured out how to get me down. And from there, I went into a coma. They induced me into a coma. And I ended up at LSU Shreveport at LSU Hospital.
Hey, Jack, let me stop you here for just a second. So you're up 150 feet high in this oil rig that's on fire, or this gas rig that's on fire. And you were up there for a very, very long time with intense heat, fire.
Yeah, it was, they estimated close to 15 seconds with almost between 15 and 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
And how long were you up there before you got help?
I think it took about 25 or 30 minutes to get me down.
Wow.
Yeah, and, I relate to the Vietnam vets and the Korean vets and the World War I vets, even the vets of today that come home and they having flashbacks. For a long time, I had them. Every time I closed my eyes, I was right back on that rig, and, I relate to them that, in the foxhole, you hear them say they prayed one minute, cussed the next, screamed the next. I relate to that because, that's the way it was. It was a very intense time.
Alita, how did you respond to the injuries that Billy Jack sustained?
Well, I just allowed God to take over me, my body, my whole thought process. That was the way I coped. Not that I don't want to sound perfect or that I did everything right. That's not the case. All I knew was to let God have it because I was not capable of functioning. Well,
you're listening to Today's Issues. We're talking with Billy Jack and Alita McDaniel. and relates his story of Dead Man Breathing, the incredible true story of one man's rise from the flames. And Billy Jack, you sustained burns over 90% of your body, and your daughter was 6 years old at the time of the accident. What all were you able to teach her through this?
Well, to be honest with you, for the first 8 or 9 months, she was teaching me things. You know, when I first looked at myself, I quit. I gave up. And my daughter's the one that come in and assured me that I looked just fine and that I needed to start moving on. And once I got home, though, it was a different story. She was actually scared of me. She didn't want me to do anything with her. Mm-hmm. And I had a choice to make. You know, I had to either let it beat me and let her see that it's okay to quit at 6 years old, or that it's okay to use your circumstances to get what you want, or I had to suck it up and I had to do what I needed to do, my rehab, and try to be a dad, try to be a husband, and try to get to a normal life as soon as possible. And Carney has became one of the strongest children that I have ever seen or talked to. I'm not saying that because she's my child. I'm saying that because she's passionate and compassionate about other people that are hurting. And she wants to tell them, you can do it. You can get through it. And I think out of, the whole deal so far, that's one of her main things, is that you can get through it.
Now, when you were going through all of this, both Alita, did you question God? Did you say, man, I don't understand this? What thoughts were you going through in your mind as all of this was going through, all of his therapy and all of everything else that was happening to help him get better?
Yes, there again, my thought process was kind of probably not normal. I don't even know, for a long time, I didn't even know what to ask God or what to say to God. And I was scared that if I ever, I prayed, but I was scared that if I ever let it go, that I would get mad at him. And so for a long time, I just kind of stayed the straight and narrow, but I never questioned or was mad for what he did. And I never really questioned why he did it. I knew that, or not that he did it, that he allowed it. Let me rephrase that he allowed it. And I knew that he allowed it for a reason, and Jack and I had to figure out and pray together and decide exactly what that reason was.
And, for me, I prayed to die for months. And I never was mad at God for the accident. I was mad at God for not allowing me to die. And I couldn't figure out why I could not die. And, it took just a very important moment that turned it all around for me.
Well, you're listening to today's issues on American Family Radio. Jim alongside John. We're talking with Billy Jack and Alita McDaniel, and the book is Dead Man Breathing, the incredible true story of one man's rise from the flames. And you can find more information about Billy Jack at billyjackmcdaniel.com. That's billyjackmcdaniel.com. And I say that so that, some folks spell it M-A-C. So it's billyjackmcdaniel.com.